Hi everybody, I'm Esther. In this video, I will introduce the future continuous English grammar tense. This tense can be used to express an ongoing action in the future. I'll go over the basics of this lesson, and by the end, you'll have a better idea of when to use this tense. There's a lot to learn, so let's get started. One usage of the future continuous tense is to talk about an ongoing action that will happen in the future. We include when this action will be happening. We can use will be or be going to be to do this. Let's take a look at some examples. I will be taking the test soon. So you can see here we have the subject and then will be. After that, we include verb ing. The word soon at the end of this sentence indicates when this action will be happening. I am going to be taking the test soon. This sentence means the same thing as the first sentence, but instead of will be, we used be going to be. Here, the subject is I, and therefore we have the be verb am. I am going to be, and then verb ing. I am going to be taking the test soon. I can also use the contraction and say, I'm going to be taking the test soon. The next sentence says, he will be sleeping by 10 p.m. And the last sentence says, they are going to be, here because the subject is they, we use are, they are going to be studying, there's the verb ing, next October. By 10 p.m. and next October show when these actions will be happening. Let's move on. The future continuous tense is also used to show that a short action in the future is happening during or while a longer action is in progress in the future. We can use the word when to show when the shorter action occurs. Take a look at the first example. I will be sleeping when they arrive. Here we see two actions. I will be sleeping and they arrive. The part of the sentence that's in the future continuous tense is the longer action that's in progress in the future. I will be sleeping. Remember, I will be and then verb ing. This is the action that is ongoing in the future. Then we see when they arrive. This is in the present tense. They arrive. This is the shorter action that happens while this action is ongoing. We will be having dinner when the movie starts. This is very similar to the first sentence. We will be having dinner. That's the ongoing action that will happen in the future. And while this is happening, the movie will start. But again, we use the present tense here. The movie starts. So we will be having dinner when the movie starts. Tina is going to be working when you leave. Remember, we can use be going to be in this tense. So she is going to be working when you leave. This shorter action will happen while this ongoing action is in progress. And finally, it will be raining when you go shopping. Again, this is the ongoing action and this is the shorter action. Let's move on. Now, I'll talk about the negative form of the future continuous tense. Here are some examples. He will not be reading before bed. For the negative form, after the subject and will, we say not be and then verb ing. He will not be reading before bed. He'll be doing something else. The next sentence says, my dad won't be cheering when the game ends. So this is very similar to the first sentence. We have the subject, my dad, and instead of will not, we use the contraction won't. Remember, won't is a contraction for will not. My dad won't, and then we have be, verb ing. My dad won't be cheering when the game ends. The next sentence says, he is not going to be working tomorrow. Here we have the be going to be. So he is the subject, and so we use the be verb is. After the be verb, we say not. He is not going to be verb ing. He is not going to be working tomorrow. Remember, we can also use a contraction here and say he isn't going to be working tomorrow. That's okay as well. We aren't going to be shopping on Sunday. Here, the subject is we, and so the be verb to use is are. I used a contraction here, aren't, for are not. We are not, or we aren't, going to be shopping on Sunday. Great job. Let's move on. Now, let's talk about how to form basic questions in the future continuous tense. Take a look at this first sentence. It says, he will be traveling next month. Now, to turn this into a question, all you have to do is change the order of the first two words. So, he will becomes will he. Will he be traveling next month? You'll notice that the rest of the words don't change, only the first two words. So, will he be traveling next month? To answer, you can say yes, he will, or no, he won't. The next sentence says, they are going to be living there. Again, to turn this into a question, simply switch the order of the first two words. They are becomes are they. Are they going to be living there? To reply, you can say yes, they are, or no, they aren't. Now you'll notice in these two sentences, there is no exact point in time that shows when this action will be happening in the future. There is no next month or anything like that. In that case, it simply means sometime in the future. So, they are going to be living there sometime in the future. That's what that means. Great job, everyone. Let's move on. Now, I'll go into how to form WH questions in the future continuous tense. Take a look at the board. First, you'll notice that all of these questions begin with the WH word. Where, what, who, and when. Let's take a look at the first question. Where will he be working? When we use will be, we start with where and then will. After that, we have the subject, be, and then verb ing. Where will he be working? I can answer by saying he will or he'll be working at the factory. The next question says, what will she be watching? This is very similar to the first question. The only difference is that the subject is now she and the verb is different. What will she be watching? I can say she'll be watching or she will be watching her favorite TV show. Who will they be talking to? Again, very similar. To answer, I can say they will be talking to their mom. The last question has be going to be. When are we? Here, the subject is we, so we start with the be verb are. When are we going to be meeting Casey? I can say we are going to be meeting Casey later tonight. Good job, everybody. Let's move on. Now you have a better understanding of the future continuous tense. Please take some time to study and practice this tense as it is very important. I know English can be a struggle, but don't worry, I'm here for you and I believe in you. I'll see you in the next video.